Now I'll just hand over to Claire and Cat from Portsmouth, who are going to take us through today's session. Thanks, over to you, Claire and Cat.
Thanks, Sarah. Hi everyone, it's really lovely to be here today. My name's Claire Mason and I'm the Service Manager for the Neurodiversity team at Portsmouth City Council. Cat, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, I'm Cat Sidwell, I'm the Chair at Portsmouth Parent Voice.
So we prepared a short presentation for you, a bit about the work that we've been doing in Portsmouth. And at the end, we've got lots of opportunity for you guys to ask any questions that you've got. So we will have questions at the end. So if you do want to put any questions that you want asked in the chat, we can come back to those and answer them. But I will make a start. So I'm going to talk us through the presentation. So really just wanted to give you a bit of an overview about the work that we've been doing in Portsmouth around our neurodiversity team. And I just wanted to start with really talking about what the vision was when the team was put together. And really the idea was if we could enable professionals and parents to work together to profile a child's neurodivergence using a simple to use tool and handbook, we really felt that that was going to have positive outcomes for children and families. If we could do this by completing the profiling tool, this in turn would be educating everyone around neurodiversity, so really embracing that psychoeducational approach. And then another part of the key part of the vision around the team was, we all know, I think there's lots of useful information out there in terms of tools, apps, websites, etc. But sometimes it can be a bit of a minefield trying to navigate that. So we really felt it would be helpful if we could gather together in one place all the things that really help, all the things that we know help children and families. And that's where the idea of our neurodiversity platform came about, which I'll talk a little bit about later on. And the focus around the team was moving away from the diagnosis and close model and developing really a whole system approach to everybody's business about meeting need. I will talk through our diagnostic pathway a bit later on, but just to be really clear, we absolutely haven't stopped the diagnostic pathway in Portsmouth. It's never been about that. It's really been about early intervention and support, so making sure children and families are getting the right support at the right time. So I just also wanted to talk through our strategy. So the strategy that really kind of helped to push this work forward was co-produced in 2020, and it had 5 kind of key elements to it. One was around kind of designing and developing the Portsmouth Neurodiversity Profile. So we will talk a bit about our profile tool later on, but it is essentially a tool that helps to identify needs. We're always really clear it's not a diagnostic tool. It is a tool that helps to support and understand what a child's needs are. And what we wanted to do was to develop the profiling tool, really make sure it was robustly kind of tested through research and training. And really there was a clear ambition to kind of make the profiling tool everyone's business. So we wanted to train a range of professionals from different services on using it, and then really spreading that out across the healthcare and education system. As I talked about a little bit in the last slide, we really were keen to develop a resource bank, what our young people called Things That Help. And we have done that through building an online platform, our neurodiversity platform, which has got lots of different advice, guidance, tools, strategy, equipment, apps and websites on there. That really, again, this is all co-produced, that we really felt were going to help families and professionals respond to a child's neurodivergent needs. Alongside that, we've been really working on looking at the culture change in the city, and a particular culture change in our schools. So we also have our Neurodiversity in Schools project, and we as a team have really been working closely with schools along with our parent carer forum to really look at making environmental and practice changes that are going to help children with a wide range of ND needs to feel more welcome, more comfortable, and be able to learn and make friendships in school. And I think we all know sometimes it's really small changes that can actually have a really big positive impact for our neurodivergent young people. And we're always really clear in saying to schools that any changes that you make to support neurodiverse learners are actually going to help your whole class. So it's really been trying on that focus around improving the culture in schools, looking at how schools can better support young people who are neurodiverse. A key part of the strategy was around embedding my team, so the multidisciplinary team. And really that idea is around having a really highly skilled team who can provide that right advice and support to children, families and professionals as they need it. And I'll talk a little bit about the makeup of our team later on. But really the goal was, and the focus was, to have that one-stop shop for families. So rather than people getting passed around to different places, needing support, you have all of the right people in one place that families can come to. And again, it's kind of the fifth bit was around, we have been putting together a competencies and skills framework in the city, and really again that focuses on the cultural change of the city. So how can we make sure that people who are working with children and families have the right skills, knowledge and competencies to really make our city an inclusive and non-judgmental and tolerant place to be? How can we make sure that people are getting the right support? Okay, so our profiling tool, just to say, I will plug it again later on, but we are going to be offering everyone who would like to access it some online profiling tool training in October. So if you go away today and think, yes, I'd really like to know more about that, you'd be very welcome to attend the online training session which Contact are organising, and I've got a bit more information about that later on. So the profiling tool. So the profiling tool has absolutely been co-produced with parents and young people. So right from the very beginning, and Cat will support me with this, the Parent Carer Forum have actually been a crucial part of putting the profiling tool together. They've been involved in every step of the way. What I've said before is the tool is not a tool, it's not a diagnostic tool. It is a tool that looks to identify what a young person's needs are and where a family might be needing support. And it looks to identify needs in 9 different areas. So speech and language, flexibility and adaptability, sensory, cognitive, motor skills, emotional regulation, empathizing and systemizing, energy levels and attention skills and impulse control. And what we emphasize in the training, what is so key to the whole process, is that the profiling tool is completed with the family and the young person if they feel able to. And what's key is around having that really good discussion and conversation with the family to get a really clear overview of what a young person's needs are, and from there working together to really build a plan for support and strategies that are going to help support that young person and the family. So the profiling tool is all about being needs-led. What we're saying is, we know kind of nationally, not just in Portsmouth, there are actually really long waiting times for assessment, and you shouldn't ever be in a situation where you're waiting for a diagnosis to get the support you need. So it's all about, as I said, identifying the needs at an earlier stage and putting that support in place. And if we can do that, that's going to lead to much better outcomes for children, young people and families. As I said, it is a tool that identifies young people's strengths and their needs. It's not a diagnostic tool. So we're always really clear about that. It's not about people going away and diagnosing. It is a tool that identifies needs. And as I've emphasised earlier, the key part of the whole process is about working with the family to get their views and thoughts and co-producing together that plan for support. So this is us. This is a neurodiversity team. So we're a multidisciplinary team, and within the team we have a range of people from different professional backgrounds. So we have clinicians, we have some time from an educational psychologist, we have an occupational therapist who's really experienced around supporting sensory needs, we have speech and language therapists, and we also have family support workers. So we were set up in September 22 as a completely standalone service. So we're not part of the Child and Adolescent Mental Health Service. So historically, our neurodevelopmental assessments sat within CAMS, but the decision was taken to set us up as a bit of a one-stop shop as a service. So we provide kind of signposting, queries and support for anyone. You don't need a diagnosis to access support from the team, but we also still carry out formal assessments as well. So we manage the diagnostic pathway also. I've worked in local authorities for a really long time, and what I absolutely love about our service is that families can contact us directly for support. There's not a lengthy referral form you need to complete. We don't have criteria around who we support. It's about families emailing in or picking up the phone and having a conversation with us, and we'll see how we can help support and advise. And we're lucky in the team as we have a range of different people from professional backgrounds. We can really unpick with a family what support it is that they're needing and make sure the right person is supporting with that. And just touching on there, we know particularly in Portsmouth, our wait times are about 18 months to 2 years. We know that's a really long time to wait, particularly if a young person is struggling. So we really want to look at what support is missing and how we can improve outcomes for a young person and their family. Just some of the things we do. So a lot of our work over the past 2 years has really been about supporting practitioners and schools with queries about the profiling tool and the new pathway. We still carry out formal assessments for young people who are neurodivergent. So all young people who were previously on the waiting list with CAMS for an assessment have moved and sit underneath our team, and we're working through those assessments as quickly as possible. We offer training for practitioners, agencies and education settings. We provide support for families at home. So if a family is needing support around implementing strategies or advice, we can provide that support at home or in one of our local family hubs, wherever the family feel most comfortable. And we also provide support for education settings, so we can offer training and support for the staff who are working with young people. So it's been quite a lot that we've learned so far on the journey, and I just wanted to kind of share some of those kind of things that we have learned. So if this is something your local area is thinking about rolling out, probably this is kind of provides a bit of a summary around what we've learned so far. So we really think it's essential to bring everyone together. Absolutely in Portsmouth from the very beginning, there was a real commitment from directors and joint commissioners to really work together to co-produce solutions. It's really about thinking differently. How can we do things differently? Absolutely, it's all about co-producing with families. We really strongly think that working with families and children is our biggest asset, and that's been so important in terms of our rollout in Portsmouth, the support that we've had from the Parent Carer Forum with that, and that support remains ongoing. So Parent Carer Forum still co-deliver all of our profiling tool training with us. They hold regular drop-ins about the new pathway, which we attend, and we really strongly advocate for that. It is about working together. It's absolutely about focusing on needs and not just activity and processes. It's about allowing space for people to define their own outcomes, because we know that's all going to be different. And it's all about focusing on what are those outcomes, what is it we're wanting for our children and families. So focusing on care groups and not individual outcomes. And we strongly believe that unmet needs around neurodiversity are much more significant and affect far more children than you may think. And we do believe that unmet need is really underpinning a range of poor outcomes for children who have unmet neurodivergent needs. And we think it is one of the big three, together with childhood trauma and early language development. And we've had a real focus in terms of our rollout about the partnership and integrated working. We really strongly advocate if that's well facilitated and genuinely valued, it really is going to make a change in terms of making a difference. I did just want to talk through our kind of diagnostic pathway in Portsmouth, because one of the questions we get asked a lot is, oh, you're not diagnosing people anymore, this is about turning off the diagnostic pathway. And I just wanted to be really clear with people, it's absolutely not about that. What we want to do is make sure that people are getting the support that they're needing, and not just waiting to get a diagnosis before they access support. So we do get asked that question a lot around, are you still diagnosing? Yes, we are still absolutely diagnosing young people in Portsmouth. We know, in terms of accessing ADHD medication, the diagnosis is still needed, and we recognise for some young people and families, a diagnosis is something that's important to them and is something that's needed. So I just wanted to talk through our diagnostic pathway with you. So it may be that a professional parent has a concern about a young person who's neurodivergent, and we would then suggest that the profiling tool is completed using that team around the child approach. Once the profiling tool is completed, a plan is put together, and our online platform can help with that, and I'll talk through a bit more about that in a moment. We do say ideally we like the plan to be reviewed twice before there is a request for diagnostic assessment, but we know for some young people that's not always appropriate. If it's really evident they have significant needs, or actually things are really difficult at the moment at home or school, we might not necessarily say the plan does have to be reviewed twice. If there is a request for diagnostic assessment, someone from the team would arrange to meet with the school and the family, or whoever's completed the profiling tool, to get that much better understanding of need, look at what support and strategies have been implemented, and we would gather lots of information about that young person, take all of that information back to our multidisciplinary meeting, and then make a decision about whether we think assessment is needed or not. If it is, they'd be added to the waiting list. If not, we would meet with the family to have that conversation as to why not. But at any stage, anyone can access support from the team. So you don't need a diagnosis, you don't even need the profiling tool done. It is about making sure that children and families are getting the support at the right time. We also have our online platform. So I know Cat put a lot of work into this. I can't take any credit for it. But again, this is fully co-produced with families and young people. And as I sort of touched on earlier, it's really about trying to bring together everything that we know that helps into one place. So rather than people trying to go off and find out different information and ending up somewhere random, it is about having all of that information in one place that people can access. The website details are on there, but I'm happy to share that afterwards with everyone if you want to have a look at that. But we hope it's really user friendly. It's basically broken down into the 9 different areas of the profiling tool, and then broken down into different ages as well. So if you had maybe a primary age pupil who was struggling around emotional regulation, you could click on primary age emotional regulation, and it would then come up with lots of signposting around other websites to have a look at, hints and tips and strategies, videos to watch, etc. So it is really about having all of that information in one place. There's also lots of information on there about us as a service. So we've got all of that information in one place that people can look at and review. So as I've said, we are offering through Contact full training on the profiling tool in the autumn term in October. That will be co-delivered by myself and the Parent Carer Forum in Portsmouth. So if you have found it interesting today and you would like to come along to the training, you'd be really, really welcome. I think more formal information will come out shortly about that, but I think you can contact Sarah if you've got any initial inquiries, but it'd be great to see as many of you as possible on there. What we always say, myself and the Parent Carer Forum, have lots of different local authorities kind of up and down the country. We're really happy to help and support if you wanted to find out any more information, or if maybe your local area is rolling this out and you had any specific questions or wanted to contact us, you'd be very welcome to do that. My contact details are on there, and also our Parent Carer Forums as well. So that was it in terms of giving an overview. I'm just going to stop sharing, but really wanted to kind of hand over to people give you the opportunity to ask any questions that you've got. Just going to scroll up. Okay.
Would you like me to read out the questions in the chat first?
Yes, please. That would be great. Hopefully my mic's okay now.
It's much better.
Excellent. So yeah, if you want to read out, we can answer them between us.
Yeah. So Stuart's asked, who completes the profiling tool with the child, young person, and parent carer?
Yep. So we have trained lots of people within the city from different backgrounds. What we do say is really key is it's around someone completing that profiling tool with the family who does know the child, because we think that's really important in terms of giving an overview of need. I would say predominantly in Portsmouth, it has fallen to schools around completing that. But we are trying to do more work around other agencies picking that up. But it is about someone completing that profiling tool with the family who knows the young person really well, because it's about giving that overview of need.
Thanks, Claire. Jane said, could you tell me how long it takes to complete the profiling tool with a family? A trial has started in the area next to ours where Senko have said it takes too much time, 1.5 to 2 hours plus, to go through the results and plan. This doesn't seem unreasonable to me to understand child. However, as a result, our pilot is being reduced in terms of numbers of children. If Senkos are not on board, I'm not sure how well it's going to go in the long run if implemented.
So we would say it's probably about 1.5 to 2 hours in terms of completing the profile. And actually, I would probably say any less than that, I'd be questioning what quality of conversation was happening with the family. And what we don't want is for this to be seen as just a kind of tick box paperwork exercise that you do. It is about having that quality of conversation. So yeah, that is approximately the amount of time we're taking, but actually the feedback we're getting that is a positive meeting for both school and family, because what you're actually doing is really getting that good overview of need, understand what's going on for that family at the moment, and really being able to work with them to put together a plan for support.
Thanks, Claire. And I think we found in Portsmouth, didn't we, the Senkos did push back a little bit to begin with, but as it's gone on, they got on board quite quickly.
Yeah, I mean, what we would say as well is actually where the process has changed historically, where they might have been doing a referral form into CAMS for assessment, actually our focus now is on this profiling tool. So they're not doing those lengthy referrals into CAMS for neurodevelopmental assessment. It is about doing the profiling tool. So we're saying that time has shifted. Maybe you're not doing the referral form anymore, but you are doing this profiling tool. And actually what we're seeing is we're getting better outcomes from the profiling tool being completed. But we've definitely had the same pushback from some schools initially. That has settled in terms of the pushback. And actually we would kind of argue that that's valuable time well spent in terms of getting that good overview of need and supporting a family.
Thanks. Jane's asked, have requests for diagnosis gone down since the toolkit rolled out, or have they increased if more neurodiverse children are being discovered via the toolkit?
Yeah, so we have seen a reduction in requests for assessment. We're still monitoring that at the moment because we know we have changed the pathway. So we know in terms of the profiling tool being completed, we've changed the pathway in Portsmouth. So we have seen a reduction in requests, but we know we're still at early stages in terms of rolling this out. So I think it's a case of reviewing that and seeing how it goes. We know in Portsmouth, we've got about 800 profile tools altogether. It probably is slightly more than that because that's how many we've got recorded on our school system, but there is just over about 800, probably more than that, profiles in the city.
Lovely, thank you. Stuart's asked, how are individuals, e.g. professionals, identified to provide support as a result of completing the profile tool so that they feel part of the decision rather than it's being done to them and resentful of being asked to contribute to the planned support?
So that's where we as a team come in, really. So we are there to be able to provide, if additional support is needed, we are there to be able to kind of provide that support or work with other agencies to provide that. So generally, what we find the support that's being kind of recorded or needed is sometimes support around strategies or advice. So we're lucky within the team that we have a range of practitioners. So we have occupational therapists, speech and language therapists. We also have a sleep practitioner. So on the whole, I think it's really key around having the team to be able to provide that support. And if we are asking other agencies again, we would work with the school, the team would work with the school and the other agency to get that support in place. So I do think it's key about having the multidisciplinary team to support that. The idea behind the team is that you sort of have everyone in one place who can hopefully help, and then we work through, if we get requests for support in the team, we work through around who might be best placed to support with that. So we are very lucky, I know we're lucky in Portsmouth to have all of those kind of practitioners and professionals together looking at who can support.
Thanks, Claire. And the next one's one that we've asked you a lot over the last year, so hopefully you've got a good answer now. How do families access the tool if school are not seeing the need, or if school needs are different between their own home? Yeah.
So if school aren't seeing needs, so we are slightly changing our process in September, in that we are going to basically, if school are feeling that they're not seeing the needs in school, we will have a consultation with the school, and if it's felt the profiling tool is not needed at that stage, what would happen is we would go meet with the family and understand what's going on for them at the moment, and look to see whether any support can be put in place. Actually, the team have completed the profile for some people where there aren't any needs being seen in school, but family are kind of struggling or feeling that there are needs. We have gone and met with the family and completed the profile.
Thank you. And the next bit is, and if they're home educated?
We complete the profiling tool for home educated families. We would have a discussion with the family to see if there was any other practitioners involved who had the training and felt they could support with it. But if not, we would pick up and work with children who are electively home educated.
Thanks. Mel's asked, do schools get any extra money to implement an individual plan if it involves costly items, interventions, or environmental changes?
No, so we as a team don't provide any additional funding to schools in terms of support. We as a team could obviously provide our support and expertise. There's no cost to the schools in terms of buying that support in, but we don't provide specific funding to schools in terms of providing support.
Thanks. Jamie has asked, does completing the tool and producing the plan give better access to other services who may previously have insisted on diagnosis?
So in Portsmouth, we do see ourselves as a needs-led city. I think what the tool does is does give that good overview of need and clearly kind of outlays what the plan are. The plan is, sorry, for support. In terms of other agencies, so all other services within Portsmouth are aware of the plan, and would absolutely recognise the tool and be able to see there from what the kind of need is. But we are a needs-led city, so we wouldn't necessarily say the tool would mean you'd get access to other support that wouldn't be available if you hadn't done the tool. But what it does do is give that kind of better overview of need, and really clearly detail what the plan for support is as well.
Thank you. A couple of people have asked if the presentation is going to be shared afterwards, but I think it isn't. The slides are going to be sent out to everyone. So for those of you that have asked. Sylvia said needs may not be seen at school, but due to masking, need is still there, and schools should not ignore needs that are being masked as too emotionally draining for children and young people. Yes.
Yeah, so we would absolutely, if that wasn't being seen in school, and we work with a lot of families like this, don't we, Kat, in terms of the need not being seen in school, but actually when they go home, needs are very different, or they're presenting very differently. So it'd be looking at how we could support that family, looking at what support they might need, working with family and school, to kind of bring them together and see how we could support.
And that's quite often where we see parents that are dropping, where we support, they come along quite often to say that school just do not see the need, or the child or young person's masking, where we would offer strategies that help with the particular needs at home and just keep encouraging them to talk to the schools.
Absolutely.
Next is, our area wants to bring in the toolkit without a neurodiversity team providing support. Can this work? For example, who would stand up for the family if school said no need for the profile, or if the school puts a plan of support in place but don't do anything?
I think what has been key to our whole rollout has been having the MDT team, because a lot of our work has been around supporting the rollout of that profile, and also really being able to provide that support and having somewhere that families can come for advice, support and signposting. So I would always kind of strongly advocate to have the support of the MDT as well as rolling out the profiling tool. Obviously, we do think the tool is a really good tool to use in terms of identifying needs and providing that support. But I would, I think it's great having the team there as well. I mean, obviously I can't speak for other areas, but I do think it's great having the team there to be able to provide that advice and support and signposting, and support that really supports with the rollout, because if school are needing advice and support, they can come to us. If families are needing that advice and support, they can also access that from us as well. And we just have that overview then of what's going on with the whole pathway, right from that kind of early help and signposting right through to if there is a request for diagnostic assessment, and if there is a diagnostic assessment. So we really, see and support families right from day one until, for as long as that support is needed.
Thanks, Claire. Joanna's asked, would the tool still be used for children that are already on the autism waiting list?
Yeah, so we don't say, oh, everyone on the waiting list must have the profiling tool done, but absolutely we say it's a helpful tool to use in terms of identifying needs. So perhaps if a young person was struggling at school or things were difficult, we could actually be good to do the tool. Let's just see where things are at the moment and what support might be needed. So yes, absolutely can be completed by anyone, even if they're on the waiting list.
Thanks. And also for children who've been diagnosed a really long time ago. Personally, my son was diagnosed when he was 8. He's 16 now, and college are going to do an ND profile when he gets there, just to see actually where his needs are. So yeah, for children who have been previously diagnosed before. Do you find there is a lack of incentive by schools to complete the tool, e.g. if they don't, then you will do it for them, or if they don't, then they won't need to provide the support and resources?
I think on the whole, we've had pretty good support from schools in terms of completing the profile. So I think that there's been some schools who maybe were reluctant to come on board, but we've obviously had the team here to support with that. So actually, if schools have been finding it difficult or providing support, then absolutely we've gone in and supported with that. But I do feel on the whole that in Portsmouth we do have a good culture around our schools wanting to support, and they will do that. They wouldn't not want to do it because they might then have to put support in place, because I think they see it as a useful tool to complete. We've definitely had pushback at the beginning around capacity, but again, we as the team have been there in terms of supporting that. But I've not had a case, Kat, you can say if you've had different of a school not wanting to do it because it means they'd have to put support in place.
No, I don't think we've had any of that. I think, Senkos have rightfully said they at the beginning, it was taking up a lot of time. They had a lot of children that needed one, and it was going to take them time to get to them. But it's certainly, I don't think, ever been about because they would have to put support in place.
I don't know if I answered all of that. I might have missed some of that.
I think so. The next question is quite similar, though, so you might. How do you manage challenges when a school resists or refuses to engage in completing the tool?
I think that's where we as a team would come in. So our family support workers work in locality, so they have an allocation of schools. So a big part of their work is around building positive relationships with those schools, going in and having kind of regular meetings with them. So if that situation arose and there was school maybe saying we don't think we need to do it, we would kind of go in as a team and support and look, and have that discussion and conversation with the school and work with the family to make sure they're getting the support that they need as well. So that's probably a key part of the team, is that we do a lot of that relationship building with schools. If there's specific issues or schools struggling or not happy about certain things, we would go in and support with that and see how we could problem solve together.
Thank you. Kaz, sometimes a diagnosis can be really beneficial for a child's identity and self-understanding. How does the tool help young people with their identity?
So we would always say that if the young person feels able to and wants to, then absolutely they should be part of the profiling tool conversation, because it is about getting that understanding of need. And again, we're not turning off the diagnostic pathway. We absolutely recognise that diagnosis is still needed for lots of young people and families, but that tool does give that better understanding of need around, and it's also helpful to have the young person's reflection in that around what things what are their strengths, but what are the things they're finding really difficult at the moment. And we do think it's a tool that can help in terms of identifying needs at that earlier stage rather than waiting for a diagnosis, because even if you get a diagnosis, that's only going to tell you kind of so much. And I think that's where the tool does dig deeper in terms of actually looking at what the needs are in those 9 different areas, and then thinking about what support and strategies can be put in place to meet those needs.
Thanks. Jamie's asked, would this tool work for adults currently on the ASD waiting list?
Yeah, so we are a 0 to 19 service, but absolutely we think it's a tool that could be used past the age of 19. Obviously we're a children's service, so that's hence why we stop at 19, but absolutely it absolutely could be used to support adults.
Do you see a greater take up from primary school as opposed to secondary or college post 16 provision? And then the second part of that is there much interest from preschool settings?
Yeah, so I generally say it's probably quite evenly split around who completes the tool. I wouldn't say, oh yes, we definitely see loads in primary, but we don't see many in secondary. Probably we probably need to do some more work around our colleges, and actually colleges completing the tool. They are trained and they do complete some, but I think that's probably a focused area of work that we need to look at. Loads of earlier settings in the city are trained and are actually completing quite a high number of profiles as well. So we do have a good spread around where that's completed. We have a rolling program of training, so the training runs on a monthly basis. So we are able to get kind of people up and running and trained, if you like, quickly, which is really positive and I think really key. So yeah, we do see a good even spread. I'd probably say colleges is where it falls off a little bit, but we're aware of that, and that's an area we know we need to do a bit more work to make sure that they are picking up those young people where it may be needed.
Thanks. Mel's said she'd be really interested to hear about more about how the setup of the ND team was funded.
Yeah, so we are a joint funded team. So half the team are employed by Portsmouth City Council, the other half by Solent NHS. So our funding, some of our money comes from the local authority, some of our money comes from Solent NHS, and we do have some funding as well. We did get some funding through the NHS Pathfinder programme to obviously see how the kind of setup of the team went. So we get funding from different places, but there is a commitment both from kind of directors in the local NHS trust and the local authority in terms of funding for the team. And we're very lucky. I know, speaking to other local authorities, sometimes other areas, sometimes the NHS and local authority are not always on board with each other, but this has been a joint piece of work right from the very beginning. Directors from NHS and Portsmouth City Council absolutely have the same vision and are supportive of the team. And again, I would say that's been absolutely key in terms of the rollout of the service. I report, I'm going off on a tangent now. I report to a joint board. I report to a joint board, which is overseen from directors from both Solent NHS and Portsmouth City Council. So it's a joint approach right from the very top and then right down to the MDT. Not that you would know, but we have, yeah, as I say, NHS staff and local authority staff all working together.
Thank you. How many schools do we have in the city? I can see it would be easier to roll out in a small LA rather than a large one.
Yeah, so we have 62. I think that's right, Kat, isn't it? 62
yeah, I think so.
schools in the city. Should know that off by heart. So yeah, absolutely. And obviously Portsmouth is a unitary authority. We know we're very lucky in the city that obviously in terms of building relationships, I can get in the car and probably be sort of 20 minutes and be at kind of within 20 minutes be at any school in the city. So that absolutely does help. We also have one ICB. So I know, speaking to other local authorities, you might have 2 or 3 ICBs who are involved with different health boards. So we absolutely know, and we know in terms of rolling out a new Pathfinder project like this, working in a unitary authority does make that slightly easier. So I have spoken to some other bigger local authorities where absolutely I can see the issues around rolling that out.
Thanks. Is there a hope that this model can be rolled out in other LAs? Is there something that can be shared with them?
Yeah, so we do, myself and Elise have met with lots of different areas in terms of kind of talking about the work that we do. Some local authorities are, and kind of local NHS boards are trialling out different ways of trialing this. So I know someone mentioned earlier, some local authorities are just trying the profiling tool, others are looking at the MDT, but we're always happy to meet with parent carer forums or other local authorities to talk about the work that we're doing, the things that have gone well, the things that we've learned along the way. Absolutely not saying by any stretch that we've got it perfect, but we're really happy to support other local authorities and, you know, within that parent carer forums. If you got any advice or questions or need more information about the rollout.
Mel's asked, please could you show us an example of the output from a toolkit, i.e. what does the strengths and challenges summary look like and what does a plan look like?
Yes, I'm happy. I can share. We've got sort of an anonymized tool, so I'm happy to share that if that would be helpful.
Please.
Yeah, happy to do that.
What has the feedback been from parent carers? Have they been able to get the support listed in a timely manner?
Yeah, so in terms of our feedback, we're always trying to get feedback about as a team about the work that we do. On the whole, I'd say the feedback has been positive. I think that's because we've got the team there to provide support and advice. Kat, I don't know if you wanted to provide any feedback.
Yeah, I think because you're also because you're part of our drop-in, which is once a month as well, they know that they can come along and speak to you directly there. We also have drop-ins on the Neurodiversity in Schools project, which is, I think, 20 schools within the city now, which we attend once every half term, and the ND team attend alongside, so they can speak to them in person there as well. So I think it's just that having access to you so much more easily. And even if they are unsure about emailing you themselves, or, you know, some of our parents have a bit of anxiety around getting in touch, they can come along to the drop-in and we could do that on their behalf. And then someone from the ND team will call them. So I think just having that easy access means they're finding it a lot easier.
Yeah,
Do you see a link between training in the profiling tool and Dingley's Promise?
So I think in terms of our profiling tool, so Dingley's Promise, just having a look. I'm not aware of Dingley's Promise. Kat, I don't know if you are
No, I'm not either.
at all. But obviously within our profiling tool training, what we do talk about is around we want to obviously upskill and make people aware about neurodiversity and young people being neurodivergent, and how we can support with that. We also want to make sure that our training is neuroaffirming, so making sure that we are looking at that as well. But as I say, we are offering the profiling tool training as through contact if you wanted to attend that. But our principles of our training are really about being kind of open, making sure that people are aware of the best ways to support, and really emphasize about being needs led. But I will have a look at Dingley's Promise after the meeting and maybe give a bit more feedback about that question.
Thank you. The person who had asked about funding has asked, is it extra money or have we made savings in other places?
So there was extra money. So there was an investment made in the team. So yes, the kind of decision was taken that actually this is the model we want to invest in terms of providing that support. So as I said, there is funding. Some of the money was moved from different places, but it wasn't taken any. So historically, so new kind of funding was found for family support workers and our therapy time from occupational therapy and speech and language therapy. But that commitment was taken from directors around actually wanting to invest in that because they felt it was going to lead to better outcomes for children and families.
Thank you. Do you see any complications when right to choose legislation comes into force?
So in terms of right to choose, we've actually had quite minimal queries about right to choose. So we've had a few families inquiry from different areas about right to choose, but in terms of kind of queries from Portsmouth families, we haven't had any of those. But as and when they come up, we would obviously work through work through those with the family and kind of hopefully reach a solution that the family were happy with.
Thank you. Someone's asked if we could contact them afterwards, so I have taken your email address down and I'll pass it on to Claire. Please, could you give us some idea of the size of the ND team, i.e. how many FTE involved in profiling, support, diagnosis, etc.?
Yeah, so what I can also share afterwards is we've got a kind of a team structure. So I can probably share, I'm more than happy to share that with you. It gives kind of an overview of the team and who does what. So in terms of our family support workers, we have 6 full-time equivalent family support workers. We're very much based in localities. So the family support workers work in localities and provide those, they build up relationships with the schools and provide support. But I'm really happy to share our team structure with you afterwards so you can see that.
Thank you. We have some information on Dingley's Promise. Dingley's Promise is a national programme to train and support early years settings to be more inclusive.
Okay.
And then there's a link if anyone wants to have a look as well.
I'll have a look at that. Thank you.
That's okay. And I think that is the end of the questions, unless how involved in the forum? We've been involved right from the very beginning, from the moment that the idea was brought. It came to us from Jonathan Prosser, and he said he wanted a toolkit to help children while they were waiting for diagnosis. So we were involved right from the very beginning, setting up co-production meetings involving parent carers and young people and getting everyone together. We're involved with the training, as Claire said earlier. We help co-produce that training, and my colleague Elise co-facilitates that training. We have our drop-ins every month, and we sit on the steering group for the ND team as well. We've been involved in interviewing for people on the ND team, I think for most of the family support workers and for Claire's position too. So yeah, we are pretty much involved in every single part, any communication that goes out, everything really, Claire, aren't we? I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
everything.
Absolutely.
And Elisa's put in our email address if anyone would like to contact us as well.
Yeah, so I'm really happy to share the slide, she says, and to share a profiling tool, and also our team structure. There's a kind of a bit of a case study we put together, so I'll share all of that if I send that through to Sarah, and then she can circulate to everyone. But yeah, please, get in touch. We know other local authorities are doing various different things, and we're really happy to help and support in any way we can. Or if you've got any kind of further questions you'd like to ask, then yeah, really happy to kind of help and support with that. Thank you for coming. I really appreciate it. And please come along to the training as well if you would like to know more. It will be myself and someone from the Parent Carer Forum who delivers that. But yeah, we'd love to see you there.
I think you've exhausted all the questions, so well done. That was a mammoth Q&A run, so well done for that. And thank you to everyone who's asked questions. Really is just now time for me to say a huge thank you to Claire and to Cat for going through the presentation and answering all of your lovely questions. The training, as Claire has said, will be run in October. Places will be limited. I think we've got a limit of 40 people. So we won't be advertising it until after the holidays. So just get quick on the mark as soon as the email comes out from Helen letting you know that the training is on. And I'll love to take bookings. Then I'll brace myself for the emails that come through. But apologies if you don't get in, or to see what we can do about running another one. Huge thanks to Claire and Cat and the whole team. And I'll now end this session. Thanks everyone for taking part. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.